Okay, everybody, welcome to our Spotlight Candidate Forum. Thanks for being here. This is one of 5 candidate-focused conversations we're hosting for the 2025 mayoral and Park City Council elections. The sessions are hosted by the Citizens Climate Lobby, Proactive Alliance, and the Wasatch Back League of Women Voters. Each candidate is going to respond to 6 questions, 3 of which have been provided in advance, and 3 will be on-the-spot questions directed specifically toward the candidate. The session is going to be moderated by 3 representatives from the sponsors, and we'll have 2 minutes to discuss each question. One moderator will be the timekeeper. That'll be me, Susan Odell from the Proactive Alliance. Tracy Harden from the Citizens Climate Lobby will be asking questions, and Corey Shadrick, also from the Proactive Alliance, will be asking questions as well. At the end, we'll have time for some closing comments from the candidate as well. So for the next 20 to 30 minutes, we're going to be speaking with TANA Tolley. TANA is an incumbent on the Park City Council and is running for one of 2 open seats. And for the first 3 questions, let's get started and go right into Tracy asking the question from the Citizens Climate Lobby.
Good morning, Tana.
Good morning.
Park City's 2030 goals target reductions in greenhouse gas emissions from major sources like transportation, buildings, landfills, and more. What specific policies or initiatives would you champion to accelerate our progress towards these sustainability targets?
Great. Thank you for the question. I've been out on the campaign trail reminding people that nature is our biggest export here in Park City, and we need to continue to talk about climate change. I don't think we've talked enough about it over the last few years, and so it is definitely a top priority for me going into my 2nd term if I am so greatly elected. Number 1 is having a home for Recycle Utah, and we are on our way to do that with the county and the city and Recycle Utah. One addition I want to see at that recycling center is to have a food digester. I've been a big champion of our Zero Food Waste initiative with the Community Foundation. My own business actually participates in a Zero Food Waste. Each month, it's really exciting to get a notice of how much you have diverted from the landfills. We're doing it about 1,000 pounds a month, even in the off season. So that is one of my big goals. So is geothermal, and we are doing a study at the city right now to understand geothermal. Continuing with our solar and storage project with 19 other Utah cities. I would like to see us electrifying city facilities. Transportation is a huge one. We need to really start working on our park and rides and continue to move forward with transit and transit to trails, which has been a really successful program. I also want to really champion this park once philosophy that gets people out of their cars and gets them to be able to move in different ways throughout our community. I am a huge champion of open space. I'm our liaison for open space and recreation. And that is a constantly on my mind, is preserving our open space, preserving our water, preserving wildlife. I also had the opportunity when I was on council to work with alpine forestry on wildfire buffers and ensuring that we protect our amazing city from wildfires. Again, water protection is huge. We don't talk enough about water. And then one thing that we don't talk about a lot in Park City, but I think is a huge goal for us as a state, is our air quality. So we might not see it up here, but it affects the rest of our state. And we really need to be sure that we are taking into account what can happen when air quality is compromised. So those are things I really want to focus on. And then just ensuring that the community consistently hears from the council that climate is very important and a top priority for us.
Okay, great. Thank you, Tana. Excellent response. Now we're going to move to Corey from the Proactive Alliance for our next question.
Hello, Tana.
Hi.
Public trust in government is essential to a healthy democracy. What specifically would you do to strengthen each of these areas? Transparency in decision-making, civic participation, and residents' confidence in city leadership.
Yes, great question. For the last 4 years on council, I have consistently posted our council agenda every single week on Nextdoor and on social media. And I get quite a bit of response from the community where they're asking questions about what's on the agenda. it has been, it's a simple thing, but it really impacts the community. It's one of the top things I actually hear about from people who just see me in the grocery store of, hey, thank you for posting what's out there. I might not come to a meeting, but now I know what is going on. The city, our communications department actually recaps every single city council meeting and also posts that on our social media. So I would like to see more engagement with that. We also go on to KPCW every Friday morning and share with the public the decisions that were made by council the night before. One of the big projects I worked on before our city manager left was a city manager work plan. And this is now posted on the front page of our city website. It shows all of our priority projects that the city and the community that we are working on for the community. Right now we have about 33 projects, and that's not necessarily development. That is just everything that our teams are working on. And then there are KPIs of what has been achieved, when we think the project will finish, and those are updated by our communications team. So that gives the public the opportunity to know what we're working on. I am our state liaison, and I also sit on the Leagues of Cities and Towns board. And so during the legislative session, I am constantly posting on Nextdoor and my own social media what bills are in the works and how you can participate and how you can take action at the state level. Last year, at one point, I think we had 7 or 8 bills all formulated around housing, which we will see again this year. And it's really important that the community understands what the legislature is working on. We tend to sometimes forget that the legislature has such a huge control over our city, but it's important that during that session and even at other times of the year, we know what's coming. I also was instrumental in helping the mayor form a youth council, which I think has been phenomenal to reach younger voters and to reach a younger demographic. So we spend a year walking through high school and middle school kids what it's like to be on council and asking for their opinions. And then, it's great. They get to go home, they get to talk to their friends, and they get to say, I had a hand in helping some decision making with council. And it just gives a different demographic the openness to come into a city council meeting and say, I know what's going on here. So I love that. We also host mayor and council neighborhood sessions where we basically take what's happening at city hall and bring it out to the public. But there's some future improvements that we definitely can work on. One is that I've noticed that during a campaign season, we have a lot of small gatherings and these living room conversations, and we don't do those the rest of the year. And I think it would be phenomenal for me to at least say, hey, to a person in Park Meadows or something, like, hey, I'm going to come over and bring 25 friends and we'll have some wine and cheese. And I'm going to tell you everything that's going on in the city. And then you can ask questions throughout the year so that when it comes to another election season, people are actually a little bit more informed.
Okay, that's great, Tana. I appreciate it. 2 minutes goes by really fast, and I'm not sure if I said it at the beginning, but we are giving about approximately 2 minutes for a response. So anyway, a lot more there, and we appreciate that. We need to move on to the next question, and we're going to go back to Tracy for question number 3.
Tana, how do you plan to address housing affordability? And what role should short-term rental regulation play in maintaining housing stock for permanent residents?
Well, short-term rental regulation is something that is something we can do at the city level, but just barely. The state actually has very strict regulations. When I first started working on our legislation, we weren't even allowed to go online to a sort of like Airbnb or a HomeAway and see who was selling their properties online. We weren't even allowed to do that. And it took a couple years, but this past year we were actually able to remove that language. So the city can now go in and enforce and ensure people actually have business licenses and they are registered with the city. So that was a big step for us moving in that direction on short-term rentals. When it comes to housing, I've been working on multiple housing projects as a city councilor, and I also really think it's important that we start thinking a little bit more about infill versus our sprawl. And so building where infrastructure already exists and allowing private homeowners and allowing private small businesses to actually create their own workforce housing if they can. The other thing that I've been working on is master leasing with our chambers. So some of these big projects that we have, the chamber small businesses could be able to come in and say, we want to master lease 5 or 10 of these units, so that we're actually ensuring that the workforce is who we are housing in these new developments. And so the other one is ADUs and duplexes, and ensuring that people have access to being able to use those.
Great. That's 30 seconds.
Perfect. I'm good. For some reason, I couldn't see it for a minute, so now I got it.
Get it. We're a work in progress. So that's great. All right. Fantastic. We can go on now. We've got candidate specific questions. These questions TANA has not seen, and so they're off the cuff or on the spot questions. And we're going to start back with Corey from the Proactive Alliance.
So TANA, during the live forum, you promised to support the 330-acre Clark Ranch conservation easement. Can you explain what that easement actually protects and how it's different from the separate 10-acre section that was rezoned for mixed use? And secondary to that, can you just remind us, where do you stand on moving ahead with the affordable housing development the city has planned for that specific 10-acre area?
Sure, I'll start with that. So this project is far from completed. I have said multiple times in different avenues throughout the last few months that the number of units, the type of units, and how it's all going to work to ensure that it fits the community has not been decided. That's still, we don't even know what subsidy the city would want to put into it yet. So there's so many unknowns. When it comes to the open space, I've spent a lot of time with Wendy Fisher, who is from Utah Open Lands, working through that space. I have wanted to put a conservation easement on there for the last 2 years and have been working with our team on getting that on there. I championed us moving forward with the Treasure Hill conservation easement, and I want this one as well. The 10 acres was set aside during COSAC, and it was set aside by a future council. So I'm going to call that section Steve's Point, so that we're not getting confused by the two areas. There's Clark Ranch conservation easement, and then there's this Steve's Point, which is the 10 acres. And so that area, a council, they put this open space recreation zoning on it very quickly in order for us to be able to annex the land in before Hideout could annex the land in. All of this was done very quickly. And so there is such a mass history behind this that I think there's a lot of rumors out there that we need to ensure we actually have the right information before we're making decisions. But as I said, this project is far from over. I would like to see something happen there. I do not believe that we should be doing a giant Dakota Pacific type development across the way at Richardson Flat, which has been offered as an alternative. So that's where I stand on that.
Thank you. Big comment. All right, next question. We're going to go back to Tracy.
Anna, you mentioned during the forum your concern about the city losing its focus on the environment. If you're elected and take part in choosing the next city manager, what kind of vision or priorities would you want this person to have when it comes to environmental issues?
That's a great question. I think it's very important that whoever we decide on as a city manager has some sort of understanding of how the environment plays into our economy here in Park City. And so we, as we look at this person coming in and leading the team, our team is very hungry to want to continue with climate change and to continue talking about these issues. I would really like to have almost every decision that we make. So if we're making a decision on, say, water treatment plant or water rates, or we're making a decision on what kind of building we want to do, there needs to be a component of the environment that is somehow intertwined into that. And so I would like for when we first we do retreats in February with our city manager and our city team to decide our priorities. And it's absolutely imperative going forward that climate climbs back up to being in the forefront of what we make in our decision making. And so I would like for our city manager to continue to work with our sustainability team. We have a great sustainability director in Luke Carton, and his team's working really hard on these issues. And if we need more employees to help us work forward on that, then I'm all for that as well.
Great, thank you.
Right. Okay, great. We've got one more question, and Corey, we'll put you back on.
Tana, you shared that you travel Sweet Alley frequently and that it needs some improvements to make it more appealing and user-friendly. Can you tell us your favorite feasible ideas for making it shine?
Sure. That's a fun question. One is it really is the entryway as someone is coming into Park City. And so I've thought of lots of different ideas. A couple are ways in which the intersection, so the Heber and Main Street intersection, and then the one coming off of Deer Valley Drive, how do you actually incorporate some sort of like art or some sort of our history? At one point, I actually thought of using some of the old Daily Judge mine remnants to create these sort of fences where it sort of helps lead people to crossing the streets versus having them just cross all the time. So there's a lot of ways that we can incorporate our history and art into beautifying Sweet Alley. But we definitely, even going back to our conversations about zero waste, we have a huge opportunity when we redevelop the China Bridge parking lot to include waste diversion in there and remove a lot of these old blue dumpsters that are everywhere. We have people's oil bins. We've got, we really should be burying the power lines in that area of Old Town. So those are just some simple ways to get going. My number one plan that I would like to see for Main Street really does go around transportation and circulation. And then what are we going to do with the brew pub lot? That brew pub lot really has the ability to shine and become an anchor spot at the top of Main Street. We have this great space at the very bottom of Main Street that's green and opening, and Silly Market is held there, but we really don't have anything at the top that just continues to make that all flow together. And so I would really like to ensure that as we move forward with either pedestrian light or we move forward with a car-free, whatever it is that we do, we just ensure that we always have an element of our history and an element of art and culture mixed into that. So, yeah.
Right. Okay. All right. This has been excellent. I know it's a quick question and answer session, but I think we've got a lot of great information, and we should probably think about wrapping up. Tracy?
Tana, in 2 minutes or less, what message would you like to leave with voters?
Yeah, I'm just going to tell you, similar to what I said at the forum, Park City didn't just happen. It was built on purpose by visionary mayors and councils, passionate volunteers, small business owners, and locals who protected this place long before it was trendy or profitable. And I carry that legacy forward. My family's been here since 1860, and I don't just represent this town. I live it every day, and I work in it every single day. And I've proven that I can get things done for the locals and for small businesses and continue the long-time health of the community. And we need to remember that nature is our economy and it's our biggest export. So we need to be talking about climate change and protect what makes Park City Park City. So we've started some big things, and together I believe that we can finish what we've started.
Thank you.
Thank you.